Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elephant 7. We had called this meeting, this is the DefCore Progress Update meeting. We had called this meeting to talk about the implications from designated sections. So we timed this to meet immediately after the. We have a couple items on the agenda, but so far we don't have much of a quorum, so we're
Hi guys, this is Malini Bandaru from Intel and covering for Will Auld. He's going to be 30 minutes late today.
Okay. Welcome. We were just about to go through the agenda. We don't have a quorum, so the amount of things that we can probably do will be limited unless a flood of people shows up in the next 4 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda and see what or not. I'm going to hold off. So the specific thing we want to talk about was the TC result with the designated sections. The Becoming an OpenStack program is a more general topic. We probably need to make sure we have a quorum for that. We can outline some of the issues. Timeline for publication of results was a board item. This also needs a quorum in it. Driver test into process and scope needs Boris and Jonathan to be on the line for, which I don't see them. And subcommittee update from the bylaw subcommittee also would require people who we don't have as part of the call.
Did you see Eileen's email?
No. When? Earlier?
Yeah, let's see, when did she send that out?
It was a day or two ago.
Yesterday or today?
It was before today.
Just deferring the legal subcommittee stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, that one I did see. So this is some of this action has been deferred. Right. No, that went. Right. And that's going to take some time. I think we probably need to make sure that this gets on the TC agenda.
Yeah.
And then I had offered to help Eileen get this on the TC's regular meeting agenda for discussion, because there was in the new bylaw suggestions, there was a role for the TC to play that was new. And
yeah. Rob, can I suggest that we push the Becoming an Official OpenStack program discussion onto the joint session with the TC as well?
Okay. I
think we could make a recommendation, and in fact, I think we're going to have a bunch of different recommendations, but that's probably the right forum to discuss them. David Lenwell, who's the RefStack PTL, would like to have it be infra. I think there are a bunch of logical reasons why that makes sense from a technical standpoint, but I'm not sure that makes sense a lot from a governance standpoint, as far as that the goals are very different. Or let's say he would like it to be run and owned by infra, but not necessarily part of that program, which would be complicated for them.
Okay.
And then I would make an anti-recommendation to having it be its own program, but I would be open to having a program that was things owned by the board, simply because I think it'll make it easier to deal with design summit session issues and sort of the general question of, we don't want RefStack to become a general purpose solution necessarily, because it may not stay fit for purpose for the reason it was built.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
So would you include driver test in that conversation?
I'm including driver test in that, but so there's some push to say, hey, should we join forces with Rally? Should we join forces with some of these other sort of GUIs around running Tempest? DreamHost built one. Other people have built them. I'm not firmly opposed to it, but I'm very concerned that our scope will creep more in the direction of that as a general purpose goal, and then not necessarily addressing things like crowdsourcing of voting against the must-have, may-have capabilities, which are critical to the board's use of RefStack, but not general purpose to the, it's a Tempest runner.
Interesting. Yeah, there's multiple use cases here. So we need to enumerate the use cases.
Yeah, and I think the other reason to keep it in board control or foundation staff control is just because we have the current requirement from the board to not publish results, which I think is antithetical to what infra would do with it today. By their very nature, everything they run is public. And to say, okay, well, having non-public data come out of, and that's why infra doesn't run the user surveys, to the best of my knowledge, the community surveys. Right. And so I see a need for, and this is why there are foundation staff involved in running those surveys, is the requirement to keep the data confidential on behalf of the vendors until the vendors have said it's okay to publish it, at least for the time being, is an important directive from the board to RefStack. And I think it would be at odds with some of these other programs.
I'm trying to figure out how these are all important issues, and I'm going back and forth, Josh, not on how to capture them and then coalesce them, in part because we're jumping ahead a little bit from the agenda perspective.
Right.
So but I think since we have some very specific things, I'd like to actually, let's move this into the like this.
Topics for joint session, yeah.
Well, we have that, but we also have, so OpenStack, it's really RefStack. RefStack's home in OpenStack.
Mm-hmm.
Programs, etc. And so I'm trying to capture what these issues are.
Yeah.
So that we can then, I think this is like a setup, and then we'll have to hone it down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
So we have multiple use cases for this, which is actually collecting test results. And we actually have a project to help run Tempest, to help run tests.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a publication, put in quote, certification.
Scorecards.
Which is this is where the driver test stuff comes in.
Well, but also just the capabilities matrix mapping, right?
That's a different thing.
Yep.
And then we also have, and this is about the data collect, this is the must pass.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing which actually we hadn't even thought about, which is is the maintenance of the must pass test list.
Yeah. You mean other than a Google Doc?
Wouldn't that be in the Git? Seems like that should be
I agree.
That's
I think
actually,
we need to figure out how to get
where
it into version control, but that's a separate. That's a DefCore project that I don't think is RefStack.
Well, RefStack is going to have to maintain.
It will be. It'll be the JSON blob that we have now that maps tests to capabilities.
Right. Plus, and the list of must-pass tests are going to be in version control there. So.
Right.
I think that's actually very manageable, but we're going to need UIs to help publish it and let people see what they are, and that comes back to the crowdsourcing. I think that's part of it. So you had rattled off a whole bunch of options for RefStack ownership. I didn't capture them at the time.
OpenStack Infra, OpenStack QA, a new program that is owned by the board or by the foundation staff, and I see those as two separate different options. Yeah, I mean, there's the actual logistics of the fact that RefStack.org is still owned by me that probably I need to give it to the board at some point.
Right.
Wait, Josh, are you telling me you own RefStack?
What?
You own RefStack.org? You own RefStack.org?
Yeah, I bought it during the board meeting a year ago when I proposed the name. This is one of the reasons why Rob didn't want it to be called RefStack originally. It's because it's just a domain name that I picked up. I also own HalfStack, in case we want to change.
Maybe I pick up. I would rather it be a subdomain of OpenStack. It would be my refstack.openstack.org or.
Yeah, at the time I was staying away from that because there was still some weird politics around who had the right to create subdomains and who didn't, and how it conferred the sort of blessing stamp on various OpenStack sub-projects that were not necessarily part of core. There had been some issues with that earlier, so that was why we ended up with a fresh domain name.
Right, I understand, but it will be run by OpenStack. That's something.
Yes.
Correction.
Yes.
But that actually, so this is actually in doubt if we're concerned about who owns the actual release of the names of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's a topic that we have on here to talk about, because we're expecting people to upload their results, right? I could upload results for HP's cloud, and
yeah.
That's valid.
Well, so there's a blueprint that Tim Bell and I were working on to do anonymous stats tracking of installed OpenStack environments as well. And we had the idea that whatever infrastructure ends up used for RefStack should be used for that, so that we solve once the problem of infrastructure that is run and managed by Foundation staff that have strong NDAs with the entire ecosystem of vendors, and with a limited set of personnel that have access to the infrastructure. Right? It's a trivial business concern that is actually fairly trivial to solve technically.
Right. Does that? I guess I lost the. Does that mean that we have a home or don't have a home for what we're doing?
We don't have a home. It just means when we figure out that home, it will be used by other projects, which is why there is some argument to say it needs to be a new program.
Boy.
Because it has requirements that other programs don't have. Or let's say if there is a home currently, if there is a program that owns the survey, the user committee survey, then that is the program that we should be part of.
Right, but it's a protected. I see. This is tricky because there are protected aspects to this, and actually, if any of these, a lot of these results end up being high stakes, like certified scorecards and things like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, so that we can't just take pull requests from anybody. If somebody injected a way to reveal the database, that would cause problems.
Yeah, which is why we may end up modifying the way the core team is defined and the way the +1s are done, so that we require +1s from or +2s from two different core members that are not affiliated with the same organization. I mean, I think it's a solvable problem. I just think it has some complexities that most projects don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has an infra element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Most projects have informal rules about not, +2ing code from your employer, or at least approving it. So you could just formalize those on a wiki page and deal with instances when they happen by saying, we have this policy, so we have unapproved your thing.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's worth taking to the board to say this is our proposal, is that we're going to trust people to do the right thing and punish them appropriately when they don't. They may want stronger controls in place, something that feels contractual, that the lawyers could point to and say, we have reasonable guarantees that bad legal things will happen if somebody abuses privilege in this fashion. I mean, you got to realize there are 3 companies now that have put more than $1 billion a year into OpenStack, and there are very real market impacts to disclosure or unauthorized disclosure or whatever else of the RefStack test run that represents that their cloud is or is not compatible in some fashion. I can picture the IBM lawyers and Todd Moore's response to this as being best face and punish afterwards is probably not enough to satisfy them. but we'll see.
Probably whoever does the final approval will need to be bonded in some way or other. The board is probably bonded in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I mean, we went through, we've got indemnification and everything else for the board members, but we may need, the reason the user committee results are run by, what's his name? Australian guy, Tom Feifeld, is because he's a foundation employee and he's not affiliated with any of the vendors, and so everyone feels comfortable that he can maintain NDA.
Right.
I'm not saying we don't feel comfortable about the members of any of the other teams, but that the vendors involved may not feel comfortable, and it's their concern that should be overriding and not our opinion of what their concern should be.
Right.
So the way the TC deals with this in their repository is only Terry has approved permissions, and so everybody else can vote, and he will only ever approve when something gets to a majority. So you can also go having like a core team of 1, and that person could be, maybe 1 or 2, so someone can go on vacation, and those people could be foundation employees and have very clear rules about when they will approve.
Yeah, that seems ideal. That seems ideal. It seems like the thing we're sort of going for.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think mechanically you've addressed some of these issues. I think that I think this is going to take more effort than we were anticipating to get the RefStack stuff in a home.
Oh,
I guess for now we can be preliminary, but this is going to be a major thing for next cycle.
Yeah. I mean, this time around, what we're doing is no vendor affiliation at all, right? There's no metadata from what cloud it was run. There's only the stamp of what user uploaded it. And so I think for this cycle, we are reasonably reliant on that. As soon as we have identifying metadata, we're really going to have to be a little more cautious about the redefining core. You realize I'm producing the same circumstance for myself that I had at NASA, where I now may end up running a project that I am not allowed to contribute code to. But that's fine.
Does this capture what this issue is? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay.
Are we not keeping it, or are we just not publishing it?
We're not uploading it yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, that's not true. I'm fairly sure the test results do not include the API endpoints that they were run against. I'll double check that with David, but I'm fairly sure that they don't, that we're not uploading it.
Okay.
It would be actually interesting. Somebody could potentially scrape the data out, figure out what the endpoints were.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could, but that level of, they could do that now. Anybody could run Tempest pointed against the HP cloud and report on the results.
Publish their results. That's right. So I don't think we need to go crazy with this. But I think I appreciate your thinking through these potential issues, because this helps us start addressing them.
Mm-hmm. So if we're skipping across to proposed timeline to take to the board, if we're baked on the current timeline as far as having Havana done and then having Icehouse done at Icehouse plus 90 and Juno done as of at Juno, as a straw man, why don't we say as of at Juno we would like results to be public, at Juno as well. And then if there's an intermediate set of results that vendors can opt into at the ISOs plus 90 timeline, that might make sense.
So what we're saying is Havana results at the Juno Summit.
No, I'm saying the Juno results at the Juno Summit. Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, at Juno Summit, yes. I was getting names in the summits wrong.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. And then what we're saying is the Juno results at plus 90. That's getting up. And that, let's say, could be.
But those are opt-in. Yeah, or vendor opt-in.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, those are ISOs results at plus 90 with vendor opt-in.
Yeah, ISOs.
Yeah, and then Juno results at Juno for everyone.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who's transposing Juno and ISOs.
Ah, it's at the K Summit. It's still opt-in.
I think we should recommend that it is opt-in, but it is required to maintain certification.
Okay. So it's like this. I would caution that at our current that is we're gonna have to start making more consistent progress.
I agree.
We've been we're at least a month behind where I was hoping we'd be.
I agree. I do think we need to have a conversation at some point about how we can speed up and become more effective. But I'd rather you and I just do that, not on the record so we can sort of brainstorm where we're falling.
I'm hoping, and I was chatting with David about maybe finally getting our demo tomorrow or Thursday at the board meeting, or at least making it available. I keep feeling like we're close, but we haven't pulled all the pieces together.
Agreed.
So hopefully I'll wrap this up and then I'll talk to him.
Mm-hmm. And let's defer integration of driver tests until we have Boris and Jonathan.
We have people, yeah. I've exchanged emails with Boris. They still want to do this. I don't know what. We're just not seeing them on the RefStack stuff.
Just call his cell.
Call what?
Call his cell.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
Yeah, don't rely on email.
Good idea. That actually works best for me too.
Also,
bylaw subcommittee. Yeah.
It's possible I will actually see him tomorrow at a meetup.
Oh, the mega scale one in Mountain View.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I can't make that, unfortunately. I'm double booked. But if you do see him, that'll be too late, unfortunately. The OpenSec board meeting is Thursday.
Yeah, we'll cross.
It'll be just a ping from my perspective.
Okay, cool.
And I think that this isn't. He's driving the rush on that, based on his objectives with the board. So I'm not. I don't want to slow him down and that effort down. We don't have a mandate to speed it up either. So I'm not going looking for work right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
As much as I want to see this, I think it's a really important thing, and we're going to start seeing implications of not having it done. We didn't take this on without him bringing in resources, right? To help get it done. Results.
Yeah.
Talked about that.
Awesome. I think we're done. We finished in 1/4 of our allotted time. And
do we have enough? Do we have enough people to talk about designated session? Let me cover that just briefly. and then
Yeah.
we'll still finish ahead of time. Because I don't want to reiterate the whole thing. Just people should go through and look at the designated sections. The TC is on board with this plan for using principles to do it, and then we actually spent some time and defined designated sections with a whole bunch of questions. We answered TC's questions. It was a very productive meeting. And the TC has accepted, I was just finished with them, they accepted the responsibility of approving the principles for designated sections, and they're going to define designated sections. They're waiting on us to tell them which things they must give guidance on, because they're not going to be able to do it for the whole project.
Right.
But this could have been a very contentious agenda item, and it turns out to just be it looks like we have achieved alignment. Anybody have a different view or additional things to add? Okay.
No, I'll just second what you said. I thought it was a great meeting. I thought we got everybody on the same page, and I'm really, really excited that it's going to work.
It's going to be awesome. So for Elephant 8,
Celebrate success.
That's right.
It was a really good thing.
I was amazed when I saw your note. I was dropped. I just wow.
How soon do we need another meeting?
So
well,
where
I
are we
would
at with
say
Teacup?
that's what I need to go into the other room. We got a fresh patch from IBM this morning, and we basically have 3 patches now that do sort of roughly the same thing. This is one of the growing pain parts of having a young OpenStack project that is overstaffed and underorganized. So I think Rob and I and the IBM guys need to get one of those over the goal line. I mean, 2 of the 3 at least run now. So we should, regardless, be able to standardize.
I'm asking because we need to tell the board, right? Because we told the board face to face we were going to deliver to
require them to run it. Yep. So, let me get with David right now, who's in the other room, and see how we're coalescing those 3.
Yeah, but I don't think that we have any. I don't think any one of the 3 is fully working.
No, I agree. Well, one of them does a good job of uploading, but a bad job of running tests, and vice versa.
Do we have a way to display the test results as yet, other than the CVS file?
Yes, we do. We have it's old. It needs to be brought up to date. That's why David's been working mostly on getting RefStack.org up and running again, because that's where the scorecard display piece fits. And I don't believe the JSON has been updated with the latest capabilities map. But if we're collecting test results, that's something we can fix as we go.
Yeah, my first concern is just to get Teacup in a I have a 4-line set of instructions to run that has no added dependencies in Python, and Docker, and so I just feel like just want to finish the goal line on that and show it to the board, and then get people playing with it.
And I would like to see that.
If it's Clayton's way to do it, if it's my way to do it, we just need to work that out. We just need to figure it out. I feel we're off topic. Do we have specific items for the Elephant 8 agenda?
I would say we need to regroup with the board on Thursday and see what that should look like. I mean, I believe we should be able to, Elephant 8 should be a working session. Or let's get our working session done first, get the last 8 capabilities, and then probably we need a first pass on scoring. Does that make sense?
I'm documenting it. So first pass on scoring. So this is going to be the what's in Strawman, right?
Yeah.
Starman, I like that one better.
Starman?
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so there's a prereq we have to finish. So
Yeah.
this is going to be.
Oh, and actually, Rob, we need to revisit the comms plan because we'll have a straw man, and we need to get out there with, the larger community again. I think Sean Roberts had proposed or offered to help organize some community outreach stuff. If he didn't, I'm volunteering him now. So.
I think we do need to talk that through. This will be an agenda item we build up. What I would suggest is I'm actually in town for the Red Hat Summit. I'm in San Francisco, and if we pick Monday, Rocky, I know that's harder for you. We could do
Actually,
this Monday.
Tuesday, I'm going to bow out on Tuesday, too. I'm up to at least 14. But, so you're in town.
I'm in town Monday afternoon. I was going to suggest that we try it for April 14th, face-to-face, at, say, 2 p.m. That reasonable? Same time, 2 weeks, basically, almost.
April 14th?
Yeah.
I'll be out of town, but I'm happy to do a call.
And I think that Dave said he's in Canada.
Okay, so let's not do the 14th. How about the Thursday?
I'm out of town that whole week, so it's all the same to me.
The 17th?
That's fine. 17th, I'm not. I don't think I'm in town anymore. Let me see.
Because that's Thursday.
Yep, Thursday is the 17th, so I could be free in the morning or afternoon. Morning's better.
Cool.
Morning is better for me.
How about 10? Do you want to say 9 a.m.? Or is
9:15?
10 on the 10 a.m. on the 17th. Thursday.
10 a.m. on the 17th. Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't see any conflicts in this specific time.
Okay, I've got it on my
All right,
calendar.
I'm going to mark this as tentative.
Okay.
And this is going to be a working session, so I'll put.
Whee!
All right, and so there'll be are you going to be able to do face-to-face, or are you not available?
I can video Skype in or something, so you'll see my face, but I will not be in the same building.
Well, that's the question, whether or not I want to try and grab space at Piston or just do a phone-in. Why don't we just do a phone-in?
Yeah.
Or we could meet for coffee somewhere in between, like in Redwood City.
I was actually going to be out by the airport. I was going to drop by the chef conference. So, which is out by the Millbrae stop.
Right.
Hi, this is Will Alt. I just joined.
Sorry, we're just wrapping up. Welcome.
That's what it sounded like.
Sorry.
Hey, Will.
Hey.
All right, thanks, Rob. Let's
everybody, thank
knock
you
it out
for
of the park.
attending.
I'll see you on IRC in a bit.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks.